Okay, so I got interrupted for a little bit, and what I was talking about was, again, the coronary band groove of the hoof. Remember, a groove of the hoof capsule, which, remember, is this area right here that the coronary band fits in right along in here. Now, this all comes down to very simple principles of, excuse me, of being able to fit the right peg in the right hole. The cross goes in the one shaped like a cross, and the round one goes in the shape like a round, and the star, and the triangle, and the square, right? Okay, so this foot has different shapes. This internal foot. Okay, so this has to fit on there according to the shape of the internal parts. And so what I noticed about this hoof capsule, because being in a fire, it burned off the periopal up here, which I can't see if I'm looking at this capsule here. And what I noticed here, I want you to notice the jaggedness of the edges here. I'm going to take this. We're going to look at it closer. Look at the jagged edges. Okay, now you have to remember, okay, now it's not all jagged. Look at that one. Well, let me wipe it off. Look at this piece right here. Okay, see how it's smooth? All right, and you'll see that it's even a different shape inside here. And you can see where the wall here, this part of the wall of the coronary band groove has shoved up against the coronary band, smashing it. Now, since this is not, even though it's in one seemingly similar chunk, every little line in here is an individual and has its individual growth, which begins up here and ends down here. Remember, many different horn tubules, all fed by their individual little papillae up there. So, because the coronary band gets stretched and pushed up this way, those horn tubules are trying to feed, are smashed and deformed and thinned out. And so some of them, as it has been smashing the coronary band up like this, well, then it's created this odd growth pattern here. Let's get a closer look at that. See how jagged it is? Okay. Now, again, we don't want to fit a square peg in a round hole and force it in. Once we get to really understand the shape. Now, I have this on a little piece of clay here because when the foot is not dried up, the frog here and the bulbs will stick out below this part of the foot. So, if they were still full, the foot would kind of be like that. All right, so we want to look at the shape at the angle and the shape of the coronary band right here. Now you can see, now when I look at this, I can tell that it's displaced a little bit here. It got smashed up in here, yet it still was able to relax a little bit. But I can tell by looking right here that it was forced and smashed up, and probably for a long time. Now this foot does not belong to this capsule. This foot, I'm not sure which I think it belonged to that capsule, except that's a front foot. Now, this foot belonged to this capsule here that I over trimmed. Not while I was on the horse, but after he was dead, I ground the heck out of it with the grinders. Okay, so this coronary band has to have a certain shape, and this should follow it right here. So at first glance, we might look at this and say, well, yeah, it kind of angles down kind of nice, but that's good. The hair is covering it. You see, when you remove the hair and the periopal, which stretches, because the periopal will kind of keep a similar line right here, no matter what. And the hair is covering it. But if you remove all that, you'll see that, how is this shaped? Okay, in your little peg game or whatever it's called, you may have a half moon, right? A half moon is shaped like this. Is not that correct? Okay, now what you want to know and look at is this a half moon? It's not, is it? It starts here and it gently descends and goes down this way. Okay, it's not going like starting here and then kind of going up like that. Well, here. It's not starting here and then going up like this. This gets less and less, and as it descends down here, and it's just a nice angle, like so. See, that would be the true foot. So when I look at this foot, and I look at the hairline here, if the hairline kind of goes up at an arc, I know that something's wrong here. That for some reason this has been pushed up into an arc. Now I just have to determine what that reason is, and then I'll be able to interpret that into what I need to trim or where that foot needs to go so that this coronary band groove will relax again back into its shape and let the coronary band down so that we don't have all this jagged hoof wall pushing up into the skin and height of the foot that is above the coronary band. All right. So now there's something that happens. Now most coffin bones that you see will look similar to that. But this is not the true form of the coffin bone. Now, this is a back coffin bone, so I can't be positive on that. But most front coffin bones look like this. You look up pictures, because most of them are off domestic horses, and they're going to look just like this. Okay? Now, for some reason, and maybe it's only on front feet, so I don't know that yet. Okay? But I do know that even on the front feet, this is pretty much what you're going to see at the end of it. Right here on the end. But on a coffin bone that is in pristine condition, okay, you're going to have what's called wings. Okay, you see this right here? Let's get up there. Okay, you see this? This is what the lateral cartilage hooks into here and grows from. This right here. And this is called the wing of the coffin bone. And the reason it's called a wing is because, well, if you look real close, it very much resembles like the wing of an angel or something. You see it there? How it arcs up, and it even looks like it might have little feathers. All right. Now you see that one is whole. I never saw a whole one before. I've seen one in a couple pictures, which I've never been able to find again. But that's a whole one. There. Again, that's called the wing of the coffin bone. You see, even the coffin bone has the names of the different parts of it. Okay, let's look at the one on the other side. Look, it's not whole, is it? It's worn away. Okay, now what you find is that it seems like on most horses, that bone is worn away. And finally, to where there's just none of it left. And there's two extremes to which that'll happen right here to this bone. One, it'll just totally wear away and disappear. Or two, it'll start developing side bone. In other words, it goes just the opposite direction. Instead of wearing away the cells and the bone and all the stuff, I studied it one time on what makes bone grow and multiply and all that. So we're not getting real technical here. Instead, this will really start adding to itself and developing, and you get what's called side bone. Okay, and you'll see coffin bones where this will come up, and then there's just all this bone coming up out of the up the side of the foot and stuff there, and it creates a lot of pain for the horse. So it is my theory that the reason these get worn away is the same reason on some horses the bone just starts to multiply and you get this side bone. And see, a lot of these things you need to Google side bone so you can see what this looks like. Okay, because it becomes a real problem for the horse. Now, if it wears away, you're lucky. Okay? If it develops side bone, you're unlucky. And it is the luck of the draw. But I believe that the cause is from this hoof wall where the coronary band groove is, distorting and pushing up against the coronary band here, and thus also covering the bone here in an area where it shouldn't be covered. And so, another thing, this is also the widest part of the foot where this bone is, right here. Okay, so, let's see, where was I going with that? Well, let me think for a minute. I need a drink. Just a regular drink. Okay, so now we have to determine why this happens. Okay, now part of it is, I used to believe, I'm not sure if I still think that's a total truth because of many added factors that I've learned. I used to believe that what happened was the wall here got long and weighted too much, and then it got pushed up into the coronary band here. Okay? I'm not sure that's exactly what's going on. And so I'm going to put forth my theory, which is based on principles of structural engineering, which is just common sense. Common sense according to the way the hoof capsule is built. Let's put this guy over here. Okay. So, well, just a second. Let me get my analogy. Okay, so your hoof capsule. Let me put all these together. Just a second here. I'm cutting horn tubules. Okay, so your wall on the hoof capsule being composed of horn tubules, each one distinctly individual, connected from top to bottom. That is your hoof capsule right there. And again, the size of a hair. And of course, these are all frayed and loose, like our hair would be. Okay, but along with this grows what's called intertubular horn, which is like glue in between all this that binds them together. See how much stronger it is when they're bound together than if you have one. See, I can bend that pretty easy. Okay, so you have to understand how each one of these is connected together and how they form the whole, and how what affects one of them is going to affect the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. It's like almost like dominoes. Okay? If something happens to this piece, up to a certain point, it's going to affect this piece in front of it. And if something happens to this piece enough, it's going to affect this piece. Okay? A little less each time. Like say, this one gets pulled down a little bit, what kind of talk is that? A little bit. Okay, it's going to pull this one, and this one, and this one, and on down to the front of the foot. Now, you have to understand that the whole thing is affected, okay? Now remember, up here, what are we connected to right in here? We're connected to soft tissue right up here and to the top of the foot. If this piece here gets pulled forward like that, it's going to pull this piece down. Do you see that? Now I'm going to show you what happens and how it grows. This is what happens. I don't know if any of you ever seen horn tubules in a foot that start at the heel and go clear up to there, yet you don't have any heel. In reality, your heel is this long, okay? But what's happened is, let's put this up here. What's happened is, the heels got long like this, and then the horse walked and it got slightly pushed forward a little bit. Now, since no horn tubule is an island, okay, then when this one gets pushed forward, it's going to push the others forward. Say, but it don't just push them forward at the bottom. It also pulls it back at the top. Well, wait, get my ugly arm out of the way. It also pushes it back. Is that my arm? Oh my God. Oh, I need to put on long sleeves. Yeah, God, I hate getting old. You know, you just don't notice till you see yourself. See, my arms used to look like that. I haven't seen that before. Wow. Oh, man. Anyway. Okay. Here, let's get over here so you don't have to look at that. Okay, so whatever grows down like so and gets pushed forward also pushes the top back. You see that? Now, since it's connected to all this stuff here, okay, it's going to move that as well. So that, let's see, on my other foot, here, let's switch. Let's do this. Just a second. Let me prop it up with a little piece of clay. Okay. Okay. Now remember I told you that when I took the hoof capsule off this side that all this moved, right? Okay, I was going to try and show you the difference, if you can see it. Okay, this is the lateral cartilage right here. It's moved up. It's moved up and it's fuller. This lateral cartilage here, wait a minute, here has been pulled down and under. Now since the frog, all this in the frog is also connected to it, okay, this is also being shoved forward. In fact, ultimately the whole sole and everything is being pushed forward here. But so we're gonna put this like this. Just a second here. Okay. So the wall is composed of all these tubules that are connected together. And what affects one affects another. Okay? And they're all attached to all the soft tissues and everything that is in the foot up here that's soft. In the back of the foot, they're all attached to this right here. So especially this area moves very easily. So there's your hoof wall right there. Let's see. Let's make a little line. Okay? Let's say, maybe I can get another straw in there too. Okay, let's say, let's put it at an angle right there. And let's draw a little line right here. Okay? Okay, so there's our hoof capsule. Now let's say it grows out too long. Oh, let's move it. So, well, you can't see that anyway. Let's say your wall grows out in your heels and your horse don't get trimmed and he's walking on the heel. Well, it's going to slightly get pushed forward. Like that. Okay, now do you see how this part moves? If this part gets pushed forward, this part is going to move. Let's put this back up here again. Okay, I'm just going to push these forward. See how it moves? Looky there. Okay, what happened up here? It pulled everything down, and ultimately, whatever's connected down here, it's pulling it forward. So you have to recognize that how these horn tubules grow, how one affects another, and the structure of the foot as everything is connected together. And so, ideally, it would be great if our horses were born and from the start, this hoof wall never got long. See, that's the thing about the wild horse, specifically Desert Mustang. Okay, he grows because he has to get so much movement, just getting a bite of grass, he naturally keeps his walls worn down to the level of the sole. Sometimes even a little above it. And so there's never any leverage on this wall right here. And so the capsule form fits relatively well this internal foot in its shape, in the angle of the hairline as it goes down here, in the way the horn tubules are the same angle for the most part in the toe and going around. Let's get our horn tubules together. Now I got them all mixed up. In the angle that this grows, all these horn tubules relatively are all growing at the same angle. Going back here. Alright? Now, that is from here to here. And they have a specific distance that they're supposed to grow from here to here, where they end at the sole, at the bottom of the sole. So, when the heels get too long, okay, and the horse walks on them, it's going to affect this first tubule here first. But then that's going to hit the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and it's going to pull that down. There you go. And so then, you're going to have some tubules. Let's get another tubule here. They're growing like this, but some that are growing like that. You see that? And it's going to lower the hairline here as well. Okay. Okay, now, I haven't worked out all the particulars yet of how the horn tubules are affected with the movement of the wall and how they affect the hairline. Raise it, lower it, things like that. But, you know, this is what I figure. I figure once I give you the basics, okay, you can take simple tools like this, okay, maybe get you some rubber cement or do something to put some horn tubules together, like so, representing the wall, and then do some experiments to see what kind of movement you get that affects the whole thing. See here? When it grows forward, what happens? Okay, it's going to pull down all these lateral cartilages, the bulbs. It's going to pull it down under the foot. Okay, you know, what about up here? What's going to happen? It's going to pull the sole forward, things like that. So anyway, this is just the foundation of the structure of the wall. All right. Now you can see, let's look here. Got a little frog in my throat today, kind of raspy. Need a drink. Okay. You can see on these two capsules, there's a difference, okay, in the horn tubules. Now, this horse here, okay, hers stayed relatively at a good angle, about like so. They start there. See, you can tell by the pigmentation in the hoof, because each horn tubule has its own pigmentation, okay, color. All right, so you can see right here, this line here, you can see the angle of the horn tubule. Okay, the same back here. So she had a pretty good even angle going here around. We're talking about, you got your dorsal wall angle here. Okay, kinda, you want all those horn tubules to kind of remain the same. See there? Okay, this horse here was a little bit different. There's his dorsal wall angle. Right here, it's laid over a little more. And by the time you get back to here in the heel, he's like this. You see that? How it changed? And as I said, now because this thing is ever growing, what can happen is this part, you can actually have horn tubules that are back here, which should be shorter as you go around here. See there how it'd be shorter? Okay. Starts out that long. Then it's that long. Then it's that long. And it's that long. So it goes from this length here to this length here, right? Okay, so because people aren't recognizing how these all grow independently. They grow together, but they grow independently as well. Okay, so because people don't recognize that, what can eventually happen, okay, is you can actually have horn tubules that should be shorter, right, from here to here, being longer than from here to here. Because what eventually happens is, you know, this is all getting pulled back here up at the top. This is getting pulled back here, and it's growing forward. And I've seen horses where their heels, what should be the horn tubule that should be that long, was like this. And the whole back of the foot is pulled down and under like that. And the horse is walking actually on the kind of on the internal parts of his foot that should be up here because they've been pulled way down. And people will always say, my horse won't grow any heel. Well, yeah, he's growing heel. Lots of it. Okay, because this is the horn tubule in the heel. But by the time it's all said and done, and slowly the top here has just been pulling, you got a heel like that, where your heel is that long, in reality, but that's what you got going on, and that them horn tubules are just going forward like there. And as I said, it affects every other part of the foot. Isn't that right? Now, ultimately, what's happening? Okay, maybe one of you can explain this better than I can. All right, you have a container here. Isn't that correct? It's got a certain amount of room in it, right? Okay, well, the more this lays down and grows forward, the less room there is actually for the foot. And what's happening is the hoof capsule, okay, and it's affecting the front a lot of times too if it grows out, and then your dorsal wall angle, remember this is your dorsal wall angle, if it starts laying down, well, let me get a straw. If it starts laying down like that, is there going to be as much room inside the container? No. So what happens? It simply starts to squirt the foot out the back. You know, once you take away the room inside the capsule by changing the shape of the capsule, it'll squirt the foot right out the back. So that it's way down like this instead of being held up like this in the capsule. See, displacement theory. Hey, there you go. You know, if I squash the glass, all the water will come out. I think I have something that can, let's see. I'll be right back. Alrighty. Here's another good example. There we go. Everybody knows what that is, right? Okay. Now, here is a container. All right? And here is a container. All right. Now, if, let me see, just a second. Okay, the container holds that, right? And this, of course, too, is a container. Now, is full of pop, right? Okay, so we know that there's liquid in there. Is that not correct? Now, if I change the shape of the container, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Let's say I just change the angle a little bit. First of all, it don't want to fit in the bottom of there. It doesn't want to. See how I've done that? Well, this, I can feel right here that I can feel the bottom of the rim of the pop can. It's not wanting to fit into this part of the container right here. Okay? Now, let's change the shape of this a little bit more. Right to there. Let's put our pop can in there. Oh, pop can don't want to fit in there at all. Hardly. And so, over time, if we displace this, it's just pushing the foot right out the back. There we go. That's what changing the shape of the capsule that's supposed, okay. Here is your internal foot. All right. Here is the container for the internal foot. Okay, now do you understand that? So if I change the form fit, what's supposed to form fit this? The container. If the exterior container gets changed, it's going to displace the whole foot. Okay? And that's what I've been seeing going on with a lot of horses. Their foot is literally being squeezed out of the capsule. See? Let's see. Let's do that again because I thought that was a rather nifty example. Okay, should fit right in there. Form fit. Right? Got a good fit. It's right around the edges. Right like it should be. But if we start moving it, things start happening. We start pulling that toe out, pushing that back. Let's see. Well, let's move that a little. See, that's a little displaced. Makes it easier for the capsule to displace. Oh my heels are running forward. Okay, so get that. Move it a little bit more. A little bit more. Pretty soon, it just is able to push it right up the back. That is what is happening to your bulbs. And your whole foot is just coming right out of the capsule. Yes. Okay. All right, so there's a lot of work to be done on experimenting with this. You know, I just got the first basic principles down here. I don't understand exactly how everything works, but I'm giving you the foundation so that you can also experiment and work and analogize and things like that. Now, here I have another foot, okay? And this is another foot that is all dried up. This is a front foot. It's got a specific shape to the common bone. And again, you got to remember, all the lateral cartilage and the bulb and the digital cushion and the frog have shriveled up and dried away. So what I have done is I have taken clay to add to it to make me a foot. Now you notice that I made the frog just a little higher, the frog corium, which is from which the frog grows, a little higher here, because when you take a foot out of the capsule, this is always higher than the rim of the foot here. Okay? So, again, you're not looking at sole here. You're looking at sole corium from which the sole grows. What I have mimicked here is an internal foot. All right? So, what we're going to do in some of these classes, we're going to build feet here. And we're going to simulate what would happen if, say, different things, different areas of the wall got long and moved. Okay? So, these are horn tubules. We'll try and fix that in there. We're going to try and figure out, like, okay, let's say we didn't trim this level, the wall level in here, and we left it a little longer than it should have been. What's going to happen? Well, it's going to flare out like that. It's going to push up maybe. It's going to have an effect on the balance of the foot. So we're going to go into some of that. So I've been doing this for a while now, and I'm going to take a break. But this is the first session of the class on understanding the true foot of the horse. And we're going to get into it some more so that if you're not understanding, I want to make sure you understand. And I also want to make sure that you understand that I don't understand everything about this, but that this is a concept, and it is based on the way all these things fit and grow together. And we have to understand this hoof wall growth here and how it can do different things to affect the shape of the foot and the hairline and become distorted, and it's affecting this internal foot here and causing your horse to be sore and not sound, or even if he doesn't seem to be sore or unsound, if there's something going on to where this hoof wall is not perfectly form-fitted to the shape of the internal foot, then that horse is going to have because the inside of his foot, you know, blood and nerves and all that other stuff, okay, sensitive, all right, he's going to have inflammation. And see, I understand that you can have inflammation and constant pain, but not limp, because I have terrible feet. And inflammation is pain. And so anything that's out of place on this capsule is going to cause inflammation. Now, when I started realizing this, and when I found out that the whole capsule, the coronary band groove, right here, could be displaced and shoving up on this coronary band, I thought, well, I got an idea. And I thought, I'm going to look up thermal imaging. All right. And also remember, not just that, but that this area here, that if the wall got too long here and the heel started like getting pushed forward, that it was also because the top of this right here is connected to all these tissues, it's going to pull all this down with it. Well, I went and I Googled equine thermal images, you know, on hooves and stuff like that. And sure enough, it proved my concept or theory right, because on thermal images, real red is inflammation, and when it's red with white streaks, it's high inflammation. And sure enough, you would see tremendous inflammation in this part of the foot and in the coronary band. And to me, what I saw going on in hoof capsules, that explains stuff. See, look at there. See how that raises? Here, see, a raised hairline. That makes me wonder. Let me get this here. When those horn tubules are shoved or moved back and forth. See, I've been trying to understand this because each one is connected to the other. They all affect each other one way or another. Okay, even though I have one straw, you have to realize that these are all connected to each other. See, they're all connected to each other. I made that a little high. But this is what I want you to see. Okay, notice the level of the black dot there. When I pull it back, come on. When I bring it back, it lowers. When I bring it forward, it goes up. Let's see, depending on where it is in the foot. So, see that? I don't know if that makes any sense. Oh, we're getting blurry. You know, the main thing I see now is that when it's connected here and this tubule runs forward, it's going to pull that down. But we need to do some more experimentation on these horn tubules and what happens at the hairline so we can learn to recognize it. Well, now I'm just getting spaced out and not making any sense to myself. So I'm going to end this session, try and put this on tonight. We're going to be building some hooves on here. Last week I built a hoof on here, and I purposely left the pillar area long to see what would happen as I built the wall onto the hoof. And I saw where leaving the wall long here, where the pillars are longer than they should be, the sole will stretch forth to it and get thicker in that area, and it is what is causing, and then it'll cause an internal imbalance in the foot right here. And they can't figure out why these horses, they take x-rays, everything, the horses, they see the internal foot going like that, and they can't figure out why. You know? Well, come to find out, what I found in my experiment was there was a high pillar over here, and it was creating a high spot in the sole at the toe, even though when you would look down the foot like that, the whole foot would look level. Okay, but internally it was creating an imbalance. Okay, so that's all there's going to be for today. And if you didn't get this, don't worry, I'll go over it a bunch more times in different ways until you do finally get it, because we want to understand how things work and what the structure of this is, its growth, how it's put together, what it should look like, everything about it and what it does. And we want to get almost a HD 3D image in our heads that can move and we can see how things work. All right, so that's enough for this class. And we will have a discussion on these things. And like I said, if you're not totally getting it, don't worry, you will. You will. Okay? All right.